Hi, Talie. How you doing?
Hi, how are you, Areh?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm extremely excited. Hopefully, hopefully it's gonna be a good one.
Yes, thanks for having me.
So before we even go deep or anyway, how do we get to Talie from Mobile?
Oh, Talie firstly is a shortening of Natalie, which is my second name. My father named me after Natalie Cole.
Oh,
So yeah, my second name is Natalie, and I had a mentor when I was a teenager who was kind of in the music business and really tried to encourage me to take this as a career path one day. And he um, decided that I should probably name myself Talie one day when I actually do take it as a career. And in order to honor him, because he did pass away uh, in 2005. So in order to honor him, when I started this journey, I named myself Talie.
there's
Yeah.
actually a whole story behind it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Wow. So you were named after Natalie Cole. That just tells me
Yes.
that you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of music, I guess.
Yeah, quite a lot of music. My parents, they're not musicians themselves, they're both lawyers, but they just, have this immense love and knowledge of music. So it was just all around me growing up, at home, everywhere.
So is this music genre based or is it like broadly on a broad scale?
No, it's quite broad. My gosh, I listen to all types of genres. I think you can find beauty of a sound in any genre, really. Of
Mm.
course, there's some maybe I might like less than others. I'm not big on rock, for example, but
Mm.
but but yeah, it was very very wide. Soul, R&B, jazz. Obviously jazz, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh wow. This is actually interesting. So I guess that then builds you into where you find yourself wanting to find yourself in music. At what point does this happen?
Um, Actually, it didn't have anything to do with me growing up in a music family or loving music. It was really a chance happening. I happened to be, my mother happened to be late picking me up from school one afternoon, and I knew there were auditions upstairs for a school concert. So I just went, and I was like, oh, well, I like to sing sometimes, and let me just go and do something while I wait. And I got on the stage and I did my song, and wow, from there it was just sort of, my music teacher who was judging the auditions was just so blown away, and she kind of just never let
Yeah.
me go, never let me go from there. And yeah, so it started in high school really, and then little by little continued.
So is it purely I can sing sometimes, or is it an acknowledgement that I might be talented
You mean at that time?
at that point? Yes.
At that point, I realized through their reactions, that I actually might be talented. They just had these amazed look on their faces, like, what? Where have you been hiding? I don't understand. I was like, oh, so there must be something there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, I always liked my own voice, but I never was like, I'm a singer. I was just like, yeah, I can sing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Well, so it might be a bit all over the place, but I want to speak or start particularly on how you term yourself as a jazz vocalist. You often attach the word contemporary
Yes.
to your titling. So I'd like you to, before we go any further, I'd like you to like kind of help me understand why contemporary and what contemporary is.
Do you know, uh, I don't know, maybe I might have said contemporary here and there, but um, I really, when I think about the type of jazz I do, it's very heavily influenced by old style classic jazz,
Mm,
straight ahead
yeah.
jazz. So um, I do not, think that I am doing what one would think when they think contemporary modern jazz,
Contemporary.
which is kind of very free, and it's very, yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm into that, but I do think that in the sense that I interpret the songs that I do, whether it be originals or standards, according to, how I was molded and my ear and my world, that is that of music that I've grown up around.
Yeah.
And then I sort of try to fuse all those feelings, all those sounds, including, the influence of all the other genres and whatever. I try to put it into a jazz format, but it's
Yeah.
really something influenced by many other things and many other genres and many other styles, and maybe then after, the end product might come across, yeah, something, contemporary and
Contemporary.
modern in that sense. Yeah. And that I explore, Brazilian jazz and put a little bit of my African background and influence, into the
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, I just kind of try to do my thing and just say who I am through the music.
Because I guess for me that's where it mostly stemmed from, because I listen to the music and it sounds more classical in terms of the inspiration, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
less the
Yeah.
modern side,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
hence the question, where do we derive contemporary from?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So back to this period where you now find yourself in high school singing.
Mm-hmm.
At what point are we thinking this might actually be what we go for from here on?
Uh, that took me a couple of years. So after after the concert, there was a school competition, like an idols kind of school idols competition,
Yeah,
which my music teacher definitely just threw me into.
yeah,
Like, you're joining, and that's it. And I ended up winning it. And so
yeah,
my family was there. And this mentor, whom I mentioned earlier, was there. And he sort of just from then on was totally excited and just took me under his wing. He would take me to work with him. He would take me to shows when he had tickets and stuff. Like, he just really wanted to immerse me into the music world as much as I can, because he was like, there is nothing else you are born for but to do this. And, I want to just keep it around you so that you understand and it becomes a part of you and you realize what I see in you as well. So,
yeah,
I mean, I was a young kid, and I wasn't sure, what I wanted to do after high school or whatever. But I kind of stayed in sort of the musical thing, in terms of I continued with competitions and stuff. That was fun. But still, I think probably it was at about 19 or so when I decided, okay, I think I'm going to go for this thing, and
yeah,
it wasn't it was unconventional. It was unconventional. I didn't have any friends who were going, that route. And my parents come from a very sort of, square background in terms of being lawyers.
yeah.
um so I mean, it wasn't obvious. I think at first I wanted to be a lawyer, actually. But my parents were always supportive, and so when I wanted to change course and do music, finally, they were just like, I mean, do your best. You better do it to the best of your ability and get up there, if this is what you're going to choose. So yeah.
And you speak of this place where you grew up. Where is this exactly?
Oh, I grew up in Durban. Spent well born in Durban, and then spent a couple of years and then moved to Pretoria, and then the bulk of my years were in Johannesburg.
Oh, so this period of finding yourself in this space
That
of
was
music is
Johannesburg.
is in Johannesburg.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what at the time are you singing? I imagine it's not jazz.
No, what did like the song? Well, the song I auditioned with at that afternoon by chance audition was Mona Lisa and
Mm.
Nat King Cole. Um, then at the Idols competition, the winning song, I guess, was Aretha Franklin, Natural Woman. Yeah, so I think at that time I was doing like a little bit of everything, whatever I feel like or what I like. Yeah.
And I guess it's also whatever you've heard being played at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so when does the jazz beast thing?
So the jazz really came about when I decided I'd known for a few years that I really wanted to go and stay in Paris for a while. I didn't know, I wasn't sure to do what, but I knew that, I want to find myself in Paris eventually. So I did about a year or so at a music school in Johannesburg, and then I my vocal teacher one day was singing some jazz song. I think it was "You Go to My Head" or something like that, and I just was like, "What is this?" This is a kind of jazz that I had not been really exposed to. I was listening more to contemporary of the time, let's say 70s, 80s, 90s, yeah, type of jazz. And I had never heard this classic stuff, your 30s, your 40s kind of jazz, and it just blew me away. It just blew me away, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And then it just opened up my world to digging for more and more. Finding Ella Fitzgerald, finding Sarah, and then I was like, "That's it."
Yeah.
I'm going to Paris, and I know that it would be obvious to choose New York, and I was like, yeah, but I think that Paris is also up there in terms of a jazz history and culture.
Yeah.
Seeing as you had a lot of those African American musicians moving to Paris for a time because they were treated better there than America. So yeah, I was interested to see France's take on the jazz vibe, old jazz. So it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see it
Uh,
to take that perspective.
and this move, does your mentor have anything to do with it or to say about it?
My mentor, he actually died when I was still in high school. So the competition was in grade 11,
Oh,
and he died when I was in grade 12. So he really didn't see any of the beginning of when I actually
wow.
started the journey. He didn't get to see
That
that. Yeah.
that is very, very unfortunate. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to touch on him a bit, what did you think he initially saw before you even started to go out and pursue the music?
Mhm.
What do you think he had seen initially?
I mean, I think from what he said, he felt that I just had whatever that it is, that star. He felt that there was star quality, something about
Mm,
the way my presence on stage, outside of my voice, the way I presented myself on stage, the way I spoke, the way I move, the way I connect with the audience, and then obviously then the voice that comes out. And he just felt that it was so, something he had not seen in a long, long time, and especially from someone my age. So he
yeah,
really just
yeah,
felt like,
definitely.
if I'm blown away by this girl, she's 16, I just know that by the time she's in her 20s, 30s, 40s, it's going to be something else. So I think he just saw an inkling and a little flame that I did not know was there. But he saw what could be.
You know what this tells me?
Yes.
It tells me that you were probably that child in the house who was just performing for everyone unprovoked.
No, actually, it's funny that my parents at that competition when I won, they were shocked. Everyone was coming to them saying,
Wow.
"Wow, your daughter is amazing," and they were like, "Listen, we are as shocked as you. We have never heard her sing a single note.
Wow.
Like, we've
Uh,
never heard her sing in the shower, even nothing. Like,
wow.
where does this come from?" But I was always sort of a recluse and very kind of quiet,
Yeah.
growing up. So I was doing my music thing, but just on my own in my own free time.
For
I
yourself.
loved listening to music. That was the thing that
Yeah.
I really was into. I listened to so much. I was just sort of feeding myself with music. I took my father's Walkman at some
Mm.
stage, Discman, and then it was like, okay, now I'm good. I can go to my room and just take CDs and just listen.
And you were
And then
listening very actively, not passively. You
yes,
were actually
yes.
paying attention to them.
Yes, I just had this deep love for music, and at family gatherings I was the DJ, all the time. My
Mm.
parents loved having parties, and I was the house DJ, and they were just like,
Mm.
oh, she's so good at music and she's such a great selector. And so this is I think maybe once I started expressing my voice, you
Yeah.
could hear all those years of me just sort of gobbling up all that knowledge of music. Yeah.
And in this period, before you even, I'm guessing you haven't even started writing or composing or anything. Who
No.
who is standing out for you, without you thinking of, in a sense of being a music maker yourself, but who's just standing out in terms of the sound this period?
In terms of the sound, do you mean before the jazz, before I chose the jazz path?
Yeah, this is you as the listener.
As a list, oh my gosh, I don't think anybody in particular stood out because at that time it was just so broad. It was just according to my feeling in that moment. So I didn't
Mm,
have a singer or something that I was like, oh, I want to be like her or I want to sound like her. No, because I loved so many, musicians, and I loved
yeah.
even a lot of instrumental jazz and stuff like that. For me,
Mm,
it was just really this combination of sounds that made me feel a certain way, and I was fascinated by that, more than anything. That how do I put the headphones on my ear, I play the sound, and something just happens to me. How
yeah.
can that, from
How
sound
is that possible?
alone,
Yeah.
yeah.
So prior to going to Paris, you mentioned the 1 year where you
Hmm.
attending a school in Joburg. In
Mm.
this period, are you just purely a student at this music school, or are you also performing or starting to compose or write?
No, not at all. No, I was really just a student, really just a student. I knew absolutely nothing at that point, and um, definitely the courage to write. No, not at all, because I didn't even know what direction I was going.
Yeah.
At that point, to be honest, I was kind of trying to follow the invisible, the unspoken and invisible path of my mentor, posthumously. Like, what would he want? He would want me to continue with music. So here I am.
Yeah.
So it was more me at that time. It was me doing something that it seems everyone believes I should be doing. So I was like, sure, I mean, I'll do it. I love music anyway. It took, I think, a few years for me to finally own it and say, no, this is my path. This is my path.
Yeah.
I'm driving it. I know exactly what I want. Yeah.
And how's the initial reaction from your side once you get to Paris? Are you excited by being there because, like you mentioned, you always wanted to be there, but are you excited by the prospect of being this music student?
Yeah, I was so excited. Just firstly by the imagining life, in Paris, me living so far away from home and living in this city that I once visited and I just fell in love with.
Yeah.
So I was just excited. Yeah, and I went there with my younger sister and my best friend from high school. So it was just like, I mean, it was fun. It was just so
An
so much fun. I
adventurous.
was just like, this is such a perfect deal. I have all the people that I love here around me, and we are
Yeah.
young and we are in the city and we're independent.
Yeah.
It was just so cool. I met so many different nationalities, of people, and yeah, no, it was not at all what I expected in the end, but it was quite an experience.
And the school, is this where you went to the American School of Modern Music?
Yes.
And how is the experience there, in terms of shaping you as an artist?
And let me tell you, I think I would describe it as crash and burn, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would describe it as, like, now looking back, I was like, I was way in over my head. Firstly, I went there and I didn't know a word of French. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh,
I don't even know what my parents were thinking. I
oh,
did not speak French.
yeah.
And it was just kind of like, yeah, you'll do classes once you get there. But I was unable to really cope in the classes I was attending because they were fully in French. So here I
Mm.
am learning music theory and having to
To learn a
do
whole new
this
language.
this language barrier. So I think it just it it was a lot. So I always say I went to that school, but I think I learned in a different way. Like I learned from experience rather than learning from the books. That's what
Mm.
I always say. It gave me a different kind of education than I had gone there for. Yeah.
And on a personal level, are you not intimidated mainly by seeing the others around you and how they take in the lessons and so forth, and how they are able to compose, I guess, if I have to
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, it was it was very, very intimidating, very, very scary, very intimidating, really just feeling like a fish out of water all the time.
Mm.
It was quite a tough period of my life, honestly. I can speak about it and laugh now, but it was truly a very tough period of my life.
And how long did you spend there?
I spent 4 years. Spent 4 years in France. Yeah, it was quite an interesting ride being there. I
Mm.
studied, got married, had a baby. So there was, yeah, a lot of growth.
I can imagine. I can imagine. But what do you think it did for you in terms of exposure and laying ground for the artist you eventually become?
I think that it continued what I had started as a child, which was just taking in the sounds, taking in the information, taking
Mm.
in the environment that later will, kind of building a library of sorts, that will later build, the musician that I will become when I really start my career. So I think that it gave me, like I had mentioned before, the classic jazz part, that
Mm.
foundation is definitely what it gave me. I learned so much of that music there, um, and musicians, and then how it's done and the styles and what is the history of it, and so much I was taught there, so that from there it sort of created a jump off point and a foundation for me to then say, okay, now I know the basics. Now what do I
Yeah.
choose, and how am I going to take this and express myself?
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, looking back now, there are probably no regrets about your time there.
No, 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 no regrets now, because I life is experience. We're all just a sum of our experiences, and I don't think I should change a thing. You change one
Yeah.
thing, and everything else falls apart. So
Yeah.
I think that was also a necessary part of my journey,
Yeah.
for sure.
Necessary experience.
Yeah.
How do you end up in Hong Kong? It's 9 years later now. I'm asking,
Yes.
how do you end up there?
I moved here because my husband got a job opportunity.
Okay.
Yes, in Hong Kong.
And you, when the prospect of moving comes up, what are you thinking in terms of your career? Are you thinking this is a place where I can also grow my career?
I was not sure, but I was ready to take the leap because I really wanted, it was time for me to leave Paris. I had gotten all I could from it, and it was starting to just turn into, something I was not happy about. So I definitely was ready to go out and explore. I didn't know what at all to expect from Hong Kong. I watched a few videos and stuff about the city, so it was helpful a little bit, but I really didn't know what to expect. But I was excited at the new adventure. Going to Paris was an adventure, and now here I was about to embark on another one. So
Mm.
yeah, so I just thought, you know what, I'll make it work. We'll see.
And looking back now, would you say you've been pleasantly surprised at how big an audience they have for the kind of music you make?
Yes. Oh, really a lovely surprise, a pleasant surprise. Starting really my professional career here, I found a small and warm jazz community,
Yeah.
and very international, which I was very happy about. Once again, learning influences and styles of music from so many other people and their backgrounds and whatever. Uh, I was welcomed, by the musicians, and they took me on. And I was still new and didn't even have such a big repertoire, but I knew that if I want to develop and I want to do this thing, I'm going to have to throw myself on that stage, and it's going to be awkward and hurt until it stops being awkward and hurting.
Right.
I sought out sort of the best musicians in the city and, tried to get opportunities to perform with them, as I knew that would be the best way to learn. And yeah, they've been so gracious with me and really just were happy to nurture the talent that they saw in me.
When I think of that part of the world and the music, I can imagine specifically the classical element of the jazz. Would I be wrong in saying that?
Um, because there's just people, this city is really filled with lots of different nationalities and people
Mm,
coming from all over the place. So I would say honestly they're into all types and all sounds. You have your audience for everything, honestly. Um, but yes, there's an audience that definitely appreciates the classical side of jazz that I bring. Yeah.
and how would you say were the first few performances, if I can term them as such, in this new surrounding? Were the nerves on a high? How was it
Yes. Oh my
initially?
God. I was battling with that throughout even my schooling time, having to be on stage. I was a shy girl. I still am. I'm very sort of reserved and stuff. And I
Mm.
was really, really shy. So having to perform in front of people was like, oh my God, are you trying to kill me? In front of all these people, and I have to sing.
Mm.
Um, and I would have like panic attacks almost, not be able to
Wow.
breathe. And therefore,
Yeah.
like my first two songs would be affected because I mean, you have to breathe if you're a singer, and I just could not. I was struggling so much. And so the first few shows were very hard for me, and it took a lot of like my husband pushing me to be like, this is what you love, get on that
Yeah.
stage. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to, I'm afraid. So it
Yeah.
was just, at that time it really was just feeling like a burden, but something I loved, so I had to go for it. But oh my God, it was tough. Yeah.
So you're telling me in all the years and all the forms of music education you've been through, at no point was there any performance lesson?
During that year in Johannesburg, actually, there was like a stage presence kind of class, but we didn't really get so much into detail about it. And
Uh,
no, in Paris, no, you just have your practical exam, and that's when you do a show, but no one is training you for how to handle being up there. No, not at
yeah,
all.
because it's a trend I'm kind of picking up. The more people I speak to, I'm
Yeah.
realizing that we often don't realize how important a part of the art performance
Yeah,
is. We
exactly.
don't focus on it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important. It's so important. I definitely would advise, any young, musicians and singers that, pay attention to the time on stage because, when your time comes, my God, it's scary up there, you better be ready.
Mm. And it's
Yeah.
all on you.
Yes, and it's all on you. Yeah.
But back to Hong Kong. Besides the music, how has life been in Hong Kong? How have you taken it in, and would you even consider moving at this point?
I really, really love Hong Kong. I fell in love with this city very much. Honestly, they call it the city of life, and I couldn't agree more. It is alive, it is moving, it is vibrant. Um, Coming from Johannesburg, I thought, wow, this really reminds me so much of where I come from. You have
Yeah,
real people are moving and shaking, people are
yeah.
about their business, they work hard, play hard, and I really just fell in love with the energy of this city, truly. So it's been such a great experience, and it's fun. There's always something to discover in Hong Kong. And I think the thing that surprised me the most was the amazing balance of how it is a concrete jungle, but like crazy concrete jungle. But then
Yeah.
about 10-15 minutes drive out of the city, and you're in total full mountain greenery, thick, lush greenery. It's
Wow.
amazing. It's so amazing, that you can have these two worlds live side by side like that. You
It's
can
so cool.
find your zen and your calm, and then you can go into the belly of the beast,
Yeah.
as well. So I love that.
And how's the language?
The language is wow. I was saying to somebody the other day, they were asking me, "Do you speak Cantonese yet?" And I was like, "Oh man, this city makes me more lazy than I think I could be in France because everyone speaks English.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
So it's you really have to seek it. You say I
Yeah.
want to learn the language.
Yeah.
Then you take your lessons or whatever. And then they'll sort of dissuade you as well and say, oh, no, you better learn Mandarin. Cantonese is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
That's what they all say. So I'm just sort of, yeah, in a place where I'm like, I don't know this language and I'd like to learn it though.
And I'm sure you've gotten to a place where there are no more cultural shocks at this point for you.
No, there's always something to discover in Hong Kong, but yes, the biggest stuff, yes, I've gotten over it and it's just a part of life. Yeah. And it's just fun.
Well, so I think now we can get into the album. Firstly, the name. I guess let's start there.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
So the name of the album is actually the street name and number of my home that I was growing up in Durban, and that's where my first conscious contact with music happened.
Mm,
Yes, and that's where I always think that was the aha moment between me and music. That was like, oh my God, I love what I'm hearing. I love this thing, called
mm,
music. And then it was so much of it playing in my home every single day. My parents, just like I said, were just obsessed with music. So in the car, it was music. Get in the house, and as soon as we get in the house, it's straight to the radio. Switch on the music. Gotta have ambient sound, and
yeah.
then in the evenings, it would turn into like a full blown dance party. Just my parents and me and my siblings. Just enjoying music. It was
Mm.
just so much in our life. So I always take it back to that house. We call that the music house. Yeah.
And when I listen to the album, there's a lot of influence derived from, I guess, an era in American culture.
Hmm.
Would you say the entire album is themed around one specific theme?
No, I would not. I think that I was approaching it not from what country would I like to represent or no, I was approaching it from, hence I named it 24 Strathay. It was for me a way to condense that experience of being in that
Mm,
house, a way to condense my my memories of being in that
of
house.
being there,
So
yeah.
yes, so this is why you have a few different styles in the album, because
Mm.
it wasn't about I want people to hear that I'm this kind of singer or I do this kind of jazz. It was I want to share with people where I'm coming from, and it's a bit of this and it's a bit of that. So yeah.
Mm. And did you record the entire album in Hong Kong?
Yes, I did. Except on a Paris street, we did part of it in Japan. Yeah.
And who are some people who you worked on with the recording process?
Oh my gosh, their names, it's a long, long, long list. They'll forgive me because and they know I love them, but I've
Yeah.
totally, oh my gosh, because the team between the teams and the engineers and the bands, I mean, I have my co-producer, obviously, who's Dan Lavelle, and who's also
Mm,
the role of guitarist on the album. And then um, so the rest of the band, majority of them on the album are musicians that I work with in Hong Kong, and some that are actually part of my band that I formed
mm,
with my guitarist. So yeah, no, it was quite a nice mix and of wonderful musicians that I'm
And
so grateful for.
and how did you actually find the recording process? Because I know there are certain artists who don't really like the recording aspect of
Mm,
it. They'd rather prefer to compose and to write. But
yeah,
how do you find it?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every moment of it. Oh, I loved it
Mm.
so much. It was firstly, it was a new experience for me, it being my first
Yeah, your
album.
debut.
Yes. So all of it was just new. And I was just like this child discovering this amazing world, and just being wowed by every single turn, every corner. No, I loved it. And I loved being 100% involved in every step of the creation of my album. I know some singers sometimes we prefer just to do the singing. that's
Yeah.
that's what we love. um but I really enjoyed being part of the whole production process, of the album.
Uh,
Sitting with the engineer and fine tuning the sounds and this and that, and no, it was really interesting.
so on the album, you have some I don't know what the correct term is in jazz, but in other genres would term them sampling or
Yeah,
covers.
yeah.
Covers. So when doing songs like that, how are you able to do a cover but not fully take on someone else's version of the song?
Oh, you mean like make it my own?
How do you make it your own and not sound like a Nina Simone?
Yeah. Well, I think that's got to do, for me, since I'm a singer, I'll say it's got everything to do with my voice and how I present my voice. And that's the first part, I think, in your becoming a professional singer, is you need to find your sound. And I remember I
Yeah.
was super obsessed with that when I was still in Paris, that I didn't want to sound too much like I had been influenced and I'd been listening nonstop to all these jazz singers. I wanted to sound like me, but you could
Mm,
hear who I've been listening to over the
mm,
years, you know. So I really worked hard on that, and I wanted so badly to sound like me, so that I can be able to do these songs one day and give it a Talie, interpretation.
yeah.
So, but I think that it takes time. It just takes years and of just keeping on doing it and getting more relaxed, on stage and
Yeah.
everything as you do the songs. And before you know it, you've put yourself, your personality into the
Yeah.
song.
Into the
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Do you play any instruments?
I don't. I don't. I still have a dream of learning piano one day.
I really hope you take that on, hey?
Yes, that would be so cool.
Please, please.
Yeah.
We have a problem in SA. Actually, every guest I've had on this podcast series so far, we've spoken of how there's a lack of South African instrumentalists. It's a problem.
Really?
South African female instrumentalists.
Oh my gosh,
It's
really?
a problem. Our ladies are not being exposed to these instruments for some reason.
Two instruments. Wow,
Mm, it's a
man.
big problem.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's something I really want to pursue at some point,
Yeah,
because it's,
that would be brilliant.
yeah, it would be such a great thing, right? Like on my shows and stuff, to have some songs on the piano.
And the keys on the album where they played consistently by one person because that was one of the standouts for me.
Yeah, the keys. Oh, yeah. Lots of people comment to me about the pianist. The
Wow.
majority of the, actually every song except Fascinating Rhythm is done by Roland Salcedo, which is like an amazing pianist here in Hong Kong. He's from the Philippines. So yeah, he's the star pianist you hear on the album.
Yeah, the first time I had the album, I wrote a tweet, right? I'm just
Yeah.
gonna read it to you. So
Okay.
I said I'm obsessed with the keys throughout the album. Sounded
Yeah.
and felt like a walk down Broadway in its prime jazz days. I
Ah,
Loves You Porgy is definitely a fave, and
yes.
Gilo rendition is the most refreshing I've had in a while.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
I
I love that.
I think I also wrote another tweet and I said Nina Simone would be proud of your version of I Loves You Porgy.
Oh man, that's awesome. Wow, that's great to hear. That's really
Now
great to hear.
the keys were literally a standout. I think it's the one thing I noticed as a consistent throughout the
Yeah,
album.
yeah. Lots of people really loved. I mean, I really loved that guy for so many years and his playing, and we played in a band. We've been playing, as a band together. So I was so, so happy to hear how he came through in the album and that people noticed it too. So that was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Oh, you must give him a handshake for me
I will.
then. So in terms of the sound back home in SA, do you find yourself listening to South African jazz at any point?
That is probably one regret of mine that I did not before or in my time in South Africa and before I left, did not really get that much knowledge of South African jazz.
Mm.
And then I left, and then I was focused on the jazz that I was
Yeah,
doing
on the jazz that you're
at
exposed to.
school. Yeah, at
Yeah.
school. So I didn't really get to get into that and even get into the scene, and meet musicians as well, and in the
Mm.
jazz scene in South Africa, um, which I think over the years, little by little, I'm trying to teach myself, and I'm trying to pick up here and there. When I see playlists like posted online from South African radio stations, then I try and check
Yeah.
out like the musicians on the playlist.
Yeah. I think at the moment we have new generation and a new wave of jazz artists who
Yeah, yeah,
are really, really exciting. So yeah, you should actually try and listen to some of the stuff. It's incredible.
yeah. I mean, look, South Africa it's a it's an amazing place, honestly, in so many aspects. And why not jazz as well? For
Yeah.
sure, you know, for sure, the jazz and our unique experience and our unique world and
Yes.
history that we have and the mix of cultures that we have in South Africa, it's bound to create all these jazz stars that are coming out of the country.
So I guess in that vein, whenever you do find yourself listening, say a song or so, do you think we do have a unique South African jazz sound, or
Yes, I do. I do. I don't
mm,
know how, I wouldn't know how to put it into words, but when you hear it, you know it.
you know it?
Yes, I think that's the best way to, yeah, for me to say it. I don't know how I would explain it in
But
words, but
there is a sound that when you're listening to it, you're like, this is dope.
yeah, this must be South African. Yes, for sure.
So I know you've been home several times before. Have you actually performed when you've been back this side?
I have performed I think once or twice. I was invited to a festival in Durban in 2017. It was like a female um only Mbogoto festival. That was
Yeah.
really, really cool. And that was my first time sort of meeting all these amazing ladies, Mimi Mjali and Nomfundo Maluva.
I
And
love
then
yeah.
yeah, and then I was lucky enough to meet as well Sbongile Kumalo. So I was in amazing company, and it was my very first time performing in the country. So I was quite intimidated because I knew these ladies were sort of stars in their world, and wow,
Yeah. And
it was.
this is prior to your album, right?
Yes, yes, it was prior to the album. So it was, yeah, so it was quite an interesting way to sort of jump in, but it went super well, and I was very well received. So
We'll be waiting for the next time
yeah, I
you
look
get back.
forward to it. I'm
We'll be
hoping,
waiting.
I'm looking forward to it.
So, have you been working on anything new, or is there anything we can expect from here?
Yes, it's taken a while. There's been a few bumps in the road, namely COVID.
Yeah.
But yes, now the second album is definitely in the works. So I'm hoping at least a single, you know, to have a single at least by what, end of December or something. Yeah, and then probably the complete package by February. Yeah.
we'll be waiting. We'll waiting to take in the music.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear people's. I think it's kind of nerve wracking a little bit because you have your first album and then it does pretty well. I mean, I even won an award. So then the thought of bringing out the second, it's like, I don't know. Will it still? Will people think,
Yeah,
oh, she didn't do as
I
well
think
as the
that
first
the
time?
second album is always the hardest because you're not judged on purely your
Yes.
artistry, but they're also looking at the success
In
of the first album.
comparison, exactly, in comparison
Yeah.
to your first. So, but I mean, I just put my heart and soul like I did in the first one, and I hope that's what will do it.
No, man. Firstly, thank you very much for agreeing to do this with us.
You're so
And
welcome.
I know we tried to find a time to
Yes.
balance the time difference, but yeah, finally we got to do it, and I'm really thankful, and I'm a fan. So
Oh man, thank you.
for me, this meant everything just to have you for an hour or so to talk a bit about your journey.
Thank you so very much for having me. It was really nice to have this chat. I always welcome these interviews because I hear, I get to answer my career and questions and my life from a
Yeah.
different perspective, and it makes me think too, and reflect a bit. So it's quite nice.
Oh, man, thank you very much. And hopefully, once the album is out, we can have another chat and talk on
Sure.
how things are going after that.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.